Guys, we've talked about Pythagorean theorem, and we've talked about the distance formula, and basically what we're trying to do with those two ideas is we're finding the distance between 2 points on a graph. Now what we're going to talk about right here is we're going to find the distance between a line and a point on the graph, and we've got a formula that goes about doing it. Now, you need to know this formula a little bit, but don't get too caught up, all right, because we'll have this presented for you at all times, so all the problems will have this stuff right next to it. But it would behoove you to write this down and understand where these ideas come from. The beauty about a formula is that all I have to do is identify what are the variables and where do I find them. Then I just plug things into to the formula and go about the process of arithmetic and solve it. So, with that said, let's go about figuring out what's going on. So here's the idea. I need to have a value of A, I need an X1, I need a B and a Y1, and I need a C. Now here's A and B repeated again. Okay. The A, the B, and the C, they're all coming from standard form of our equation for a line. And this is what standard form looks like. Standard form is going to be AX plus BY plus C equals 0. Okay, the X and the Y in this formula are not going to change. Okay, over here where I have X1 and Y1, X1 and Y1 are going to be the values for X and Y of the ordered pair. So that would exist right here. Here's X1 and here's Y1 for this particular problem. Take a look at the equation for the line right here and what's wrong with it as it relates to the formula that we have right here. I got AX plus BY plus C equals 0. There's the idea. What does this guy right here say equals? It says equals 6. So what we need to do is we need to bring the 6 over here to this side. Now, how do you move a number from one side of an equation to another? We got to add or subtract, right? And so in this case, the 6 is positive, and the opposite of that would be negative. So with that said, the new equation that we've got here is going to be 2x plus 3y minus 6 equals 0. Now let's identify what are my values. What's A, B, and C based on this idea right here? The value of A, and again, where do we find A? It's up here by the X. So the value of A for this problem is 2. The value of B, where do I find B? B is right in front of the Y. In this case, the value of B is 3. C is the number that's over here that has no variable. And in this case, the number with no variable is a negative 6. So there's my negative 6, okay? Now the other two values that I need right here is X1 and Y1. And X1 and Y1 for this particular problem is 6 and 4. So X sub 1 is 6. Y sub 1 is 4. Now let's take all these values, plug it right into this formula right here, and then we're going to find out what is the distance from this point over here to this line. So let's put the values into the formula. Starting off right here, and again, in the top right here, now we have absolute value, but we've got to multiply A times X1, and in this case, when I do that, it becomes 2 times 6 plus sign. Now we're going to multiply B times Y1. In this case, the B is 3, and Y1 is 4. The last thing that we have right here is plus C. In this case, C is negative 6, so we just put minus 6. And still close it up with absolute value. Now all that's going to be over the square root of A squared plus B squared. So I'm going to fill that in right here. So A squared in this case is 2 squared, and B is 3 squared. Now we need to go through the process of the arithmetic and figure out what we have here. So 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 4, 12. Keep the negative 6 alone. Now on the bottom we can carry out a few things. I'm actually going to skip a couple steps right here. But 2 squared is 4, and 3 squared is 9. And 4 plus 9 becomes 13. Okay. Now across the top right here, let's carry this out a little bit further. 12 plus 12 is 24. 24 minus 6 becomes 18. So now we have the absolute value of 18 over the square root of 13. Everybody knows when I've got absolute value, all I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the brackets and keep the number positive. So in this case, we have 18 over the square root of 13. All right? And you'll also recall that from lessons past, I cannot have a radical in the denominator. So actually, I'm going to multiply the denominator and the numerator times the radical. And I guess in reality, you could probably just type this into your calculator and it'll spit out the right answer. But here's what we end up with. 18 radical 13 over 13. When you actually do the math right here and you actually multiply it out and come up with decimals, you find out that the value is 4.99 and a whole bunch of decimals after that. So this answer is essentially 5. So that's how I'm going to express the answer to a problem that looks like this. Let's do another one that's set up a little bit differently. Okay, so I've got my formula right here again. Trying to find the same thing, a distance between a point right here on the graph that exists at 2, 5. And now my line looks like this, y equals negative 3x plus 1. But let's recall, when I go about this process right here, I got to determine what is the value of a, b, and c. And I've got to put the graph, or the equation of the graph right here in standard form. So I've got to get it looking like this, ax plus by plus c equals 0. You can see that this one right here doesn't look anything like that. It's not a difficult process to put it in that position though. First things first, the value or the number right here that's got the variable x needs to be first. So we need to take this guy right here and we need to move it to this side of the equation. Now it's a minus 3x. What's the opposite of minus 3x? Right, positive, right? So I'm going to add 3x to both sides. Now know this, you can't add 3x and y. Why not? They're not like terms. So what we've got right here now becomes this, 3x. What kind of number is y? It's positive, but we have plus y equals 1. Now y equals 1 because I didn't move the 1. I just left it alone, okay? Again, I still am not quite into the standard form like this is up here. I've got to move the 1 from the right side of the equation to the left side, all right? And it needs to say equals 0. So how are we going to move a positive 1 to the left side? All right, we got to subtract that one too, right? So if I subtract 1, can I subtract it from 3x? No. Can I subtract it from y? No, because they're not like terms. So it's going to stand by itself. So the new equation looks like this, 3x plus y minus 1 equals 0. Now from there we can identify what's the value of a, b, and c. So in this case, the value of a is 3. The value of b, what's in front of the y? Actually, there's a 1 there. And the value of c, again, the number with no variable is going to be negative 1. So now we need the last two pieces of the puzzle. x1 and y1, x1 and y1, and we're going to get that from the ordered pair. So the x value of the ordered pair is 2. The y value of the ordered pair is 5. Now, I've got all the pieces of the puzzle right here. Let's put them all together into the puzzle. So here's what we get. The value of a, again, is 3, and x1 is 2. The value of b is 1, and the value of y1 is 5. And in the end, the value of c is negative 1. So I can put a negative 1 right there just like that. And that's all over a squared plus b squared. So in this case, a squared is 3 squared plus b, and b squared is 1 squared like that. Okay. Now everything is in place. Everything's ready to rock. All I have to do now is carry out the arithmetic, and let's get an end result. So here we go. 3 times 2, that's 6. 1 times 5, there's a 5, and then it's still a minus 1 right here. I'm going to take the absolute value of all that. Now I'm going to skip a step here again, but 3 squared is 9. 1 squared is 1. 9 and 1 is 10. So here's what we have, all right? And so across the top now, 6 plus 5 is 11. 11 minus 1 is 10, so we're left with the absolute value of 10 over the square root of 10. And again, what do we do with absolute value? We get rid of the brackets and keep the number positive. So now we have 10 over the square root of 10. And now here comes more fun. I cannot have a radical in the denominator, so I multiply the top and the bottom times the radical in the denominator. Keep it in mind, you can also plug it in your calculator and it works out. but we end up with 10 radical 10 over 10. And because just in lesson or unit 5B, we were simplifying rational expressions, what happens to this 10 right here and this 10 right here? That's right, they cancel out. So in the end, we are left with the square root of 10 as our result. But that's kind of hard to understand when I'm saying, hey, what's the distance between 2 points? Hey, the square root of 10. But what does that mean? Sometimes on the calculator, it's best if we go ahead and type it in and get a decimal answer. So the square root of 10, or approximately 3.16, becomes the distance in between the point 2 comma 5 and the line that's graphed of y equals negative 3x plus 1. So again, we have a formula that's in place that will help us out right here. Okay? We need to identify what's the value of a, b, and c, because I'm going to take the equation of the line and I'm going to put it in standard form like this right here. And then I identify what's the values of x1, y1, stick it in the formula, do some simple arithmetic, and then we're ready to rock.